We gotta pull out. We gotta pull out. We gotta pull. Oh no! Oh no! We gotta pull out before it's too late. I mean, it's already too late. It's already too late. Yeah. We already came in Afghanistan like 20 times.
It's hard to... The pull-out method is very hard, as Joe Biden is finding out. You have to time it perfectly, and it's always, you know, gives you a kind of an unsatisfied feeling afterwards.
Yeah. Eventually, you want to pull in. You want to pull in. But that's the... So, you know the old adage on... the song Maggot Brain by Parliament Funkadelic?
Yeah.
And Mother Earth is pregnant for the third time because y'all have knocked her up. And so I think about that with Afghanistan and pulling out. You know, Afghanistan is pregnant for the third time because y'all have knocked her up. And what it's pregnant with is opium and rare earth minerals that we need in order to make cell phones.
Those are some pretty sweet resources, so it's kind of a shame. My whole thing was like, we need to send soldiers in there to vaccinate everybody.
Yeah, instead of American Sniper, he could be shooting a gun which vaccinates children instead of murdering children.
Well, why does the left want us to practice vaccine imperialism, you know? Spread our vaccine to the whole world.
I don't know if that's the problem with the left is there is no... The left as a term has no definition because it embodies this wide-ranging series of groups that have vastly different opinions on things, and the only thing that really unites them is the agreement that there should be some state protection for everybody as opposed to just richer and wealthier people.
But the left, they're all rich boys now.
Well, yeah, everybody.
They're all rich boys.
Well, that's because that's where the only place where you're really allowed to institutionally learn about communism, and that's what something the right-wing people are about, are sort of right about, is that, you know, it's the academy where this is promulgated. And I don't think universities churn out communists. I wasn't a communist until after I was churned out by our very, very left-wing university. But I think to some degree, you know, you sort of, in order to learn about communism, you need to be middle class. I mean, Marx was middle class, Lenin was middle class. In order to have the amount of leisure needed in order to accrue the knowledge in order to put this shit together. Like, Marx was very famously a lazy little boy and he would get inspired in fits and starts. And that's when he would be at his most productive. But I think I do agree that nowadays the study of socialism is even more relegated to places like the academy. And I don't know if, you know, the YouTubers who want to spread the message of socialism or the podcasters do it at such a critical mass that it can, you know, be recuperated to the point like it was in the Eugene Debs era or even in the Black Panther era to some degree.
What about the editors of vanity magazines?
The editors of You're talking about our boy Nate?
Our boy Nate.
Our boy Nate Jr. Making current affairs, having sex with them bitches. Leave you all in fired zone, have you up in them stitches. I can't do the rhymes as good as Jesus der Super Jew, who's just been on a tear of making fun of Nathan J. Robinson by having him be some sort of velvet pimp. Who raps about, you know, hoes and socialism. It's a gag. But Nathan J. Robinson's in the news because there's been a bit of his kerfuffle at his socialist magazine, Current Affairs. What was that kerfuffle?
Oh, well, the workers organized and were trying to take over the means of production. My goodness.
They were, yeah, so as I understand it, and based on Nathan Robinson's testimony, the workers were all paid $45K even him. So there was no, like, and everyone had benefits to some degree, but they were talking about organizing a worker co-op, which meant that what would happen is that Nate Robinson wouldn't have as much editorial control over the new.
A worker
over the
co-op
magazine
is
as
when
before.
the hot people get to relax and make the nerds do all the work.
I mean, it was already. I mean, Nathan J. Robinson, say what you will, but he has definitely worked hard at his maintaining and promoting his Vanity magazine. Like, he wrote every article for that shit for like the first 2 years. And, you know, even though it's just generating like bland socialist think pieces, that's still, you know, a commendable amount of work and hustle, even if he is, you know, a fancy little Southern dandy.
Yeah, the marketing for Current Affairs was good. It kind of burst onto the scene and made a big splash immediately, because it has the kind of name and vibe that makes you think it's like a magazine that's been around forever, but it hasn't.
Or it's the same with Jacobin, too, where they're taking... It's funny how, like, you rag against The Economist, but you're very much appropriating the aesthetic of stuff like The Economist and The New Yorker and National Geographic in order to give it this sense of hallowedness.
Yeah, what if I dress like the guy on the cover of the New Yorker and start my own magazine?
Exactly. But we love our fancy boys, you know. We love our fancy little boys, except for recently, because, well, we've had a problem with the conspicuous consumption of our socialist heroes.
We have.
And people, that's the thing, is like people wouldn't care about this Nate Robinson story as much if he didn't dress like a fancy little elf pimp.
Right.
Because he's always peacocking, he's displaying this, you know, this drip, which appears to affect
literally peacocking. He wore an outfit of a peacock.
Yes. Yeah, precisely. Yeah, he's trying to, I don't know, inject some sort of swagger into socialism, which is, I mean, historically, and I argue with people on Twitter. I don't actually argue with people. I just mute them when they challenge me now, which is a much better strategy.
Oh, much better.
A much better strategy. But in my head, so someone says to me, I post a Nate Robinson cartoon and says, oh, the left is having trouble getting through to the working class. After all, we keep sending them our fanciest lads. And then the guy's pointing to Nate Robinson. And why wouldn't the working class relate to these very fancy lads? And someone challenged me. They said the point is like, well, you know, Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos dress casually. Are they any help to the working class? It's like, that's not the point.
Oh, and they don't. Jeff Bezos does not dress casually.
No, not anymore. He used to be a schlub, but then he started taking all that HGH and decided to just become Lex Luthor.
I think he also takes testosterone.
Yeah, he takes all the man drugs. Yeah. Takes all the hard man drugs.
Bill Gates is still a schlub, but I think that's divorce Bill Gates.
Divorce Bill Gates.
After the divorce is over, he'll inject himself with some nice fresh blood and slim down and start wearing some whatever the new fashions are.
Yeah, he'll be able to jump over a chair again. Have you seen that interview with him where he jumps over a chair?
Why would he do that?
Because the interviewer was like, apparently you're not just a nerd, Bill Gates. You're quite a skier, a little athletic. They say you can jump over a chair. And he says, well, I guess I can. And then he jumps over a chair to the delight of the interviewer.
From standing, like not with a run.
From standing, wow. Not with a running position.
I don't think I could do that. I've gained quite a few. I've got my COVID-19 15.
I've got my Metrazapine 1915.
Nice. Hey, I recommended that to my dad, so we'll see how it goes.
Hell yeah. Mirtazapine. It helps you sleep, makes you hungry. Also makes food taste better.
And I also looked it up, and I saw that it was often recommended for older people, and he has two problems. He doesn't eat enough, and he's so old he's depressed about it. So I said, get some Mirtazapine. Recommended by Alex.
I'm on it. Thumbs up. So far, it's only been a week, though. So, yeah, I don't know if it's working or if I'm just jazzed from
you seem happier.
I do seem happy. So, yeah, it's definitely the most effective SSRI I've taken up to this point. So let's hope it continues.
And what's really in it? It's just meth?
It's just meth. It's just all meth all the way down. Yeah, that's... like Nate J. Robinson, the Crushed Velvet Joker, the Joker-fied man. He is really... got a phone call.
Uh-oh. Is it the police?
No. No, it's only Nate J. Robinson. He's phoning me to look for current affairs writers because I'll do cartoons for current affairs.
Oh,
do
you
my
scab.
vulgar ass cartoons.
Oh, you notorious scab.
I'll be a scab. I'll be a scab for current affairs. Yeah, this whole thing with emboldening a leftist celebrity and then tearing them down has been this ongoing cycle that has emerged since there really became like a leftist media market around really the beginning of Trump, and the Bernie campaign is what heralded this sort of newfound left media market. Before then, it had just really been like Amy Goodman, and it was just boring ass Democracy Now! For 30 years.
Remember that lady? Remember that mother who was like really vocal against the Iraq War? I think her name was Cindy Sheehan.
Yeah, because her son had died.
Didn't something similar happen with her? Like we tore her down after raising her up. Maybe she was the prototype.
And it well, I don't know. I think that happens to everybody. That's just the cycle of. That's just the. To borrow the cringe phrase, the milkshake duck is inevitable. It's hard to attain a level of fame and then maintain it without, blowing your PR to some degree. The fact that, there exist people like Keanu Reeves and Tom Hanks who are just almost universally beloved is sort of a miracle.
Yeah, Kelsey Grammer, another such one.
No problematic aspects to Kelsey Grammer at all. Never done anything bad. He's had a lot of absurd tragedy in his family.
Yeah, but now he's also extremely right wing, so it balances out. You can feel exactly nothing about Kelsey Grammer.
Okay, here's the thing. Did Bill Cosby's son deserve to die because of what Bill Cosby did?
What? Did Bill Cosby's son die?
Bill Cosby's son, Ennis Cosby, I think was murdered. He was run over. Or something like that.
I didn't know that. I'll have to check that out.
That's one aspect.
Well, did it happen? I'll have to check that. Didn't that happen? I guess that happened at the same time as he was doing.
It would happen contemporaneously with his spree.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was murdered.
He was murdered, yeah. So that's a horrible, horrible way to die. But do you think that murder was instead, that was the karmic retribution? That was the karmic retribution.
No. That's not my model of the world at all.
That's a horrible way to think about it.
Yeah, Donald Rumsfeld's karmic retribution.
Donald Rumsfeld's karmic retribution. He didn't have any karmic retribution.
So I don't believe in that model.
He made it to the end. I don't know. You like to believe that it's like Angels in America, and the villains of this world, like Roy Cohn, die lonely and suffering eternally. But it doesn't work out like that. It's just that's the best message, or not the best message from The Godfather, but like one of the most true messages from The Godfather is often there is no comeuppance. And you die chasing your granddaughter with an orange in your mouth, the way that any of us, would. And you die peacefully and surrounded by family and loved ones. That's why not? Why there is no 1-to-1 ratio between what you do and the eternal outcome. But you try and do good anyway because it seems doing evil is very stressful. I don't know how people do evil.
It's not stressful at all. You just forget about it.
You just forget about it.
You forget about it.
It's Italians. It's a whole culture based on evil. Hey, forget about it. Nah, no more Italian jokes. I think also Twitter is done with Italian jokes. There's a backlash against it because they're so replete.
Well, there was a period of time where every meme was a Sopranos meme.
Yeah. And I feel like we're just coming out of that phase. And I very much was responsible for propagating that. But we're done with the Sopranos memes now. Let's move on to the Shield memes. Have more the Shield memes. Damn it, Dutch. Get your orders from the DA. I'm doing my bad CCH Pounder impression there.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Shield. What am I? I'm not watching anything. Yeah. So
I was watching Veep. I'm watching Veep, which has renewed renewed relevance in the Kamala era, because it was weird that when Trump happened, its last 2 seasons are kind of weak because they had to account for Trump, who to some degree was unprecedented in the history of American politics. Like, you can say, like, oh, Ronald Reagan was the first celebrity president, or there were analogs to Trump before, but no, he represented something different.
Ronald Reagan had a nice little sojourn as governor where he did all sorts of terrible things to Chicano people.
Yeah. Or even Jesse Ventura, who's the king, and he's the one, fuck Bernie, Jesse. I'm putting all my chips down on Jesse Ventura will return. I can't do a good Jesse Ventura.
I don't think he'll... No, you've done good ones in the past. I don't think he will.
I've done good Jesse Ventura impressions.
I don't think he'll return.
That's what you have to do, is you have to talk from the bottom of your throat. And we're going to have a socialism for the people. We're going to have a socialism that's guided by human rights and values.
But I'm not doing Jesse Ventura. I'm doing James Adomian doing Jesse Ventura.
I see.
Because Adomian's very talented, and he's the Rich Little of our generation.
All these references, man. You're so smart.
There's too many references.
You're so
I'm
smart.
very smart.
You know so much stuff.
It's because I have dumb psychosis.
Again,
have you heard of dumb psychosis?
Wow.
It's in my comic this week. I have made another comic this week about dumb psychosis, where a patient is telling a doctor, Doc, I've been online too much. I think I have dumb psychosis. And the doc reassures him, oh, there's no such thing as dumb psychosis. Now get in the Brendan Fraser Shinji. And he's Shinji now, and now is facing a gigantic Brendan Fraser.
So for those of us who don't know what either who or what Shinji is, enlighten us.
Zangoku natenji no yoni zonen yashin wa ni nare. That's frickin' Neon Genesis Evangelion was a popular anime in the 90s, which was a deconstruction / recreation of the mecha genre, which included many Freudian themes and is primarily centered around the theme of depression and overcoming it, and using the mecha anime tropes in order to tie into the themes of depression.
Speaking of anime tropes, was that in the background the Canadian police robot telling the citizens to go inside?
I think what it was is I live across from, which is a park that's heavily trafficked by
Do you want me to bleep
people.
that?
What? Wait.
I live across from this park.
Okay, yeah, you can bleep that.
Okay.
You might want to bleep that. I don't know. I can dox myself. Shake your ass. Dox yourself.
So you live across from bleep. And?
Yeah. And, there are a bunch of houseless people here. It's a very large houseless encampment. And that could be the cops. And every week or so, the cops will tell them, get your asses out of here. Because that's what they do. Some engage, some resist. There's still the same level of houseless people around. Usually, it's the violent ones that get extricated. But that's been a huge recurring problem in Toronto.
Yeah, and then you guys send them to America.
Well, no, we send them to this neighborhood. They all get sent to my neighborhood, which for some reason, less cops. It's more peaceful here, I think, because there's a higher concentration of shelters as well and more resources for homeless people. But, just a couple of weeks ago, there was a huge crackdown at Lamport Stadium where they were busting heads and ruining a houseless encampment. And it got really violent. But this happens every couple of weeks in Toronto as well.
And that one was in order to film some terrible TV show, right?
No, it was the one in Bellwoods Park was the one that was used to film Why the Last Man, which is already... Why the Last Man is already... Its premise... Now, with our gender discourse, having the idea of, and you even see it in the trailer, it says all of the cis men, he's the last cis man on Earth, which is like, okay, so they're gonna sort of explain that through our current gender discourse, right. Well, and they are probably going to riotously fail. And the fact that they busted homeless people out to make this high concept TV show that has no choice but to fail is very sad.
When you
and
turn
funny.
in your cis card, you obviously get a vasectomy and you can't produce anymore.
There you go. Or you turn, I don't know. There was also like a premise in an old Justice League cartoon where some misandric Amazon has found a way to make all men on Earth sick. But that, comes with complications, including the fact that one of the people that it makes sick is the Martian, who's a man. And so I guess it just recognizes other types of, like, the magic in it doesn't make any sense if you bother to think about it for a second. So I think when you and there's a lot of like old timey science fiction in this stories. It's like all the men have been affected by this, or all the people have been affected by this. But then if you bother to investigate that idea for 1 second, it immediately falls apart.
And then there's that story where everyone is gay, like that sci-fi story. Do you know that one?
Yeah. I remember the sci-fi story. It's where we've crash landed on the planet of the gays.
No, I think. Gosh, who is it by?
Wait, is there an
yes.
Everybody is Gay?
Oh, yes,
science
it's by
fiction?
a famous guy.
Oh, okay. Oh, is it by? It's not a Delaney, is it?
I think it's by the guy that wrote Clockwork Orange, but I'm not sure.
Oh, it's by Anthony Burgess.
I think. Anyway,
the Everybody's Gay planet.
Yeah, it's called The Wanting Seed. It's by Anthony Burgess.
The Wanting Seed.
You ever heard about this?
No, I never heard the Everybody's Gay planet.
So yeah, it's like society has switched, and homosexuality is the main thing, and only like a little bit of people will ever admit to being heterosexual.
Okay.
So it's like, what if everyone was gay?
I don't know. I don't believe there's any sort of evo-psych mechanism for gayness, but I think to some degree people think it's more acceptable in societies where, birth rate is not really an issue, or even a declining birth rate is seen as a positive thing because of, the social security crunch we have as much. So I think when there's less societal pressure to reproduce, I think more, because me, I think that everybody has an underlying level of queerness that gets expressed depending on what they've experienced.
You have to stamp it out.
How encouraged is. I think there's a lot. I mean, you see it in sports. I'm not the first to observe that sports are intensely homoerotic.
But
and
you
it's
must
a way for,
stamp out those feelings, young Alex.
Well, that is the way to stamp them out, by slapping your friends' asses and, getting tight together with a man,
Life is about creating new life, and that is it.
That's all. That's it. We're just propagating. We're the propagating species.
Life is like make a new poop machine to fertilize the earth. That's basically what the life drive is.
I saw a really good movie about that. I saw a really good movie about the eternal poop machine, which was
one?
The Green Knight.
Oh yeah, is that about poop machines?
Well, it's about life and the return to nature. And it's weird that people find this movie to be sort of like mystifying, because like there's just a scene in it right in the middle of the movie where a character explains to you entirely what the movie is about.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, but if you're like a dum-dum that doesn't know how to like read cinema, you might think that, this is just a series of images, of like unrelated images, and it ends in a way that I don't like, because it's ambiguous. But really, the movie is about facing the inevitability of death. And what death is characterized in the movie is nature, is the natural world, is trees and woods. And the Green Knight is this symbol of inevitability. But how that's not necessarily a bad thing, and how accepting it is sort of the key to honor and salvation and benediction. Yeah. In a way. I mean, that's just one interpretation.
And every so often, you got to give the English majors a movie, okay? The English majors get real ornery if everything's Marvel this and sci-fi Dune that. Okay? You got to throw them a bone once in a while.
Have you seen any of David Lowery's other movies?
Let me see. Let me look him up here. David Lowery.
He looks like a weird guy. Yeah, he looks like an intense weirdo. God.
He's he's like a cross between Billy Corgan and the music videos Billy Corgan was responsible for.
Yeah, he looks like an even more identifiably pedophilic Anthony Fantano.
I saw a Ghost Story. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I liked A Ghost Story a lot. That's the only other one I've seen by him, because it also had alleged rapist Casey Affleck in it, so that dampens my enjoyment.
I don't pay attention to the private lives of people like that.
It doesn't interest me. It's like in one of my other comics. It's like it depends on how strong their character or persona is. Like the reason why like Chris Pratt got clowned for being part of a homophobic church is because for 7 years previous to that revelation, he had been depicted as the funniest, best, most like puppy-like good guy. So the idea that he has any flaws or compromising factors in him whatsoever is too much for people who've put him on a pedestal to handle. So they like react in a very strongly negative way. And we're back to this again. We're back to the devolvement of celebrities over the course of the arcs of their popularity. And because another person that got clowned this week is old Mr. Hassan Piker,
right?
Who is a very beautiful man, as everyone has pointed out.
He is. He's very handsome.
He's a comically beautiful man
from the neck up.
Yeah, and if there's anyone who I buy is like somebody that saves Zoomers from the net of extremism, who's like a safety net against extremism for Zoomers, it's Hassan Piker. Because his following is large, and I can see in real time him, like, not de-radicalizing people, but getting youngsters to get wise to socialism through memes. And he's very good at doing that. You know, you can call it bullshit, but I've seen it. I've seen it happen. I've seen him get people into it through the fucking memes. So
yeah, there's this sort of debate around him that I frame in my mind as being like between glorifying consumerism and glorifying socialism simultaneously.
Yeah. So what he did is he bought like a $2.8 million mansion in West Hollywood. And which I call a gamer man. He bought his gamer mansion.
Right.
It's going to have all of his smelly gamer friends in it who are less handsome than him. Do you think that, or do you think he hangs out with equally handsome gamers?
I've never watched any of his content, so I don't know. I was thinking he hangs out with his uncle.
Jank?
Yeah, Jank.
Yeah, good old Jank. We're going to have to bleep that out. That's a slur.
Whoa. Yeah, we don't want to. We can't offend. Is he Turkish? We can't offend. We're on thin ice.
We're on Turk watch. Turk watch over here. Yeah, but the thing with this has sparked this whole once again an internecine debate in the left.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought it would happen? Here we go again.
Like 3 or 4 times per week.
Yeah. And this is about whether Hassan has sort of exceeded his value as a social. Can you like really call yourself a socialist and have a mansion? Is the thing, yes. And it's the same thing with Nate Robinson. Can you call yourself a socialist and still have a crushed velour sweatsuit or something like that?
Yeah, sure you can.
And yeah, I guess I land more on that side of the debate where it's like, well, you know, he exists in capitalism and he works hard to some degree. I guess not. That's probably not it's not working hard. That's the thing, but he's successful and he produces something that people want.
I mean, doesn't
as a result,
Marx has the term bourgeois socialism.
Yeah, but to some degree, I think that was him covering his own ass because he realized that, you know, in order to make this socialism thing work, you need the support of the broadest class, which is the working class. And people will hate me because I'm a fancy little rich boy. So I need to have some theory of, you know, bourgeois capitalism being necessary to the development of socialism in order to, you know, cover the ass of a person like me. And, you know, that's to me, that's why I also, you know, accept less extreme versions of socialism which focus less on worker solidarity. Because I am a fancy little rich boy, and I fear the us uprising. I fear the workers, taking over and cutting me with scissors and making hands across America.
Oh yeah, that's what workers want to do, is hands across America.
That's what they want to do.
They want to do ad campaigns.
Yeah. Well,
imagine the workers' revolution happens and they're just like, and now we're setting up our marketing office.
I think to some degree that's, it's funny. ContraPoints, the much beleaguered ContraPoints, also a person in this category, someone whose own success has led them to increased scrutiny and criticism by the base of... I mean, the other problem with these leftist figures is their base of audience, who they're trying to cultivate, are downwardly mobile people. Like, that's who their message is supposed to appeal to. So when you're upwardly mobile and you display how upwardly mobile you are to your huge audience of downwardly mobile people, some of them might get annoyed by that.
Yeah.
And so ContraPoints made a whole video on that. And the thing that she was working on for, she didn't release a video for 6 months. And this is her big hour and 40-minute long dissertation about envy and the source of envy in our society. And I watched the whole thing. I like ContraPoints videos. I think even if
it's an hour and 40. It's almost 2 hours long.
Yeah. And I mean, I think she's very entertaining. Like, she's always peppering it with jokes, so it's never that boring. And, she has interesting examples and touches on interesting ideas. But, she's closer to liberal than she is to, real communism. And I think a lot of the audience she cultivated sort of had a problem with some of the more liberal suggestions in that video. Like the idea that workers' revolutions were fundamentally, well, if not fundamentally, at least partially informed by this sense of envy, and how envy didn't end up, this type of envy of these bourgeoisie didn't end up contributing long-term to the prosperity of a socialist state. That's one of the contentions in her video that the communists got upset with, because they were like, well, actually, the workers' revolution in China, a lot of people died, but they did go from being like this backwater agrarian bullshit community to a fully mobilized and industrialized society within like a decade. So it seems like envy, like it's not as if China fell apart after the socialist revolution. It changed into something different, but I mean, you can't really call China like capitalism or communism. It's communism with Chinese characteristics. It's its own thing entirely.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird mystification to use. You generally don't see one of the 7 deadly sins as as a way to mystify historical materialism. But
in this way, I think ContraPoints actually takes cues from Adam Curtis, who, instead of like using words like neoliberalism, frames it more as a debate between abstract concepts of individualism versus communitarianism, or giving yourself up to the group versus the emphasis on the primacy of the individual, which was what Adam Curtis frames as the essential quality of the battle of ideologies of the 20th century. ContraPoints is now framing the paradigm of the workers wanting what this middle bourgeoisie has as something that is not tearing the left apart, definitely not good for any sort of broader social movement. And something she says at the end of the video, which is very funny and strange, it says, all this envy means that we're going after millionaires and not billionaires like we should. It was like, wait a second, you're saying we shouldn't go after billionaires? How many million? What if somebody has $500 million? Is that too many million? So it very much, the whole video has this pallor over of like, don't hate me for my success. Don't hate me just because I've made it. And sort of goes beyond her point into more of a self-defensive sort of thing, which she's done before in her canceling video, where she talks about cancel culture, in which she broadly reiterates the same points as well, how people sort of have this envious attitude, And that is what informs their political stance more than, maybe other more virtuous attitudes. But I don't know.
So what's going to happen?
The video is an hour and 40 minutes long.
What's going to happen to cancel culture when everyone's in a union and you can't get fired for being racist? How are we gonna do?
You're going to go to it easy. You go to the rubber room. You still get paid, but you just are racist with all the racists in the rubber room. And it'll be like
our own podcast.
You'll have your corn dog.
We'll do a podcast in there.
Yeah. We're the unemployable racists who are unionized, and we're just sent off to do podcasts.
You can't do cancel culture because you had a socialist revolution.
Well, I think I've mentioned it on the show before, but I think about my evolving thoughts on the Google memo guy, who, when the Google memo guy first came out, I was like, it's good this guy was fired. But then I realized, this guy probably should have had more worker protections so that they couldn't have unilaterally done this to him.
Yeah, they just put him in the basement doing, like, sweeping the floor in the server room or something.
Yeah, or they should have put him on, like, an AI, a racist AI project or something, or like a gender essentialist AI project.
Okay, we're gonna make this guy head of the is AI racist, and then just do the opposite of whatever he says.
Exactly. We're training an AI to be racist, so we'll do the opposite of the.
Yeah, well.
And so we'll be the most anti-racist of all.
I'll have to check out the ContraPoints thing. It sounds weird.
It is a weird video, but it's very informative. I still like ContraPoints. Like, people really turned on her, and I'm even in the comic that I recently made about conspicuous consumption. Maybe I'm too harsh on her, probably. But the gag of the comic is that rating people by levels of unacceptable conspicuous consumption is dumb, which is, don't do that. That's that way leads to madness. But I think once you are more successful and you show elements of that success, I mean, especially with ContraPoints and the vastly increasing production value of her videos, people, your audience of downwardly mobile people might get annoyed. And that's something you might have to look out for.
Well, it's there. Then there was also sort of the performative aspect of did you see what the Brianna Joy Gray tweeted?
Yeah, I always call her Brianna Greyjoy, like from Game of Thrones.
She tweeted, I'm never going to buy a house.
Yeah, and Bad Faith Podcast, which is hemorrhaging listeners after the unaddressed Virgil Texas allegations.
Do you think that was a joke on her sort of slyly being like, I realize my podcast, even though we're still making $27,000 a month, is not going to last?
I don't know. That might be a joke on her part. I think she's carved herself out a good niche with the force the vote cranks, that she's always going to have some sort of leftist, because there's that weird crew in the leftist media sphere, which is like Jimmy Dore and Ryan Knight and the socialist MMA guy, none of whom I really hate. There's a lot of hatred of those people.
Yeah,
but I think
they're disliked because they want to use some electoral procedures to try to accomplish things.
And I don't think FTV would have worked, but I get where they're coming from. It's we want to do anything. We want to leverage any kind of power we have. And at least we're suggesting something. Everyone else who shits on us, give us ideas. Give us ideas of how to wield the marginal amount of electoral power that we have. And, nobody has any. Because... Because I think largely, as we've said before, the left's power is dependent on a lot of soft displays of power, like Cory Bush's protest and stuff like that.
I mean, we don't have theories of how to wield power. There's definitely people who want to do the summer of 2020 for real, where we're doing riots and doing a revolution.
I mean, so there is that old Marxist theory, that communism, everything drifts towards communism because social revolution is inescapable. And, I haven't read anything. I've read, skimmed over Communist Manifesto. But I know in, Like, a lot of Das Kapital is dedicated to just analyzing a lot of Russian peasant uprisings in order to evidence that, no, like, the class struggle is inevitable. And you will always have a situation where the poor end up eating the rich. And, you know, why this type of revolution has sort of been delayed in our modern society is also something we've identified before, is that neoliberalism is very good at taking on the attributes of its opposition and then making it think as if the opposition has done something, when in reality it's just perpetuated neoliberalism more.
Which is like how the Democratic Party took on aspects of the Taliban.
Yeah?
Oh, yes. Closing schools.
Right.
You know, the Taliban does it for ideological reasons, and science is kind of an ideology. Closing the...
Well, the appraisal of science is the fundamental way we can understand knowledge is scientism, which is an ideology. Which,
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just...
That's what Full Metal Alchemist is all about.
It is. What a great show. I recommended that show to my sister. Not really to her, but to her kids, because it looks like my sister's new baby, who's a boy, is going to be bigger than his older brother. So I'm saying, I was a classic Full Metal Alchemist situation right here.
Classic Ed and Al situation right here.
But yeah, I was
should rename
sort
her
of
kids Ed and Al.
swinging the topic back around to Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
The media has turned on Biden since we last spoke.
Yeah, which is weird because now you're in this situation where leftists are like, Biden's kind of based because he's like doing all these interviews where he's defending himself on the sloppy exit from Afghanistan. But did you see that one where he was talking to the CNN guy and the CNN guy was, I think it was Stephanopoulos. It wasn't CNN. It was Stephanopoulos.
ABC.
And it was ABC, yeah. And Stephanopoulos was asking him whether the chaos was calculated in the pulling out. And Biden said, yeah, Jack, it was. And you know what, Biden? You're right. There is nothing you could have done. I don't think there's any situation that would have been like... I mean, maybe there would have been a situation. I'm no commander-in-chief, but it was always going to be like that. I don't know if it could have been worse or better, but there was always going to be some measure of horrifying chaos.
Well, you know what, dude? I'm not interested in your hot takes about Afghanistan. Okay.
Are you quoting the they them vet Patrick Lawler?
Yeah, the guy, person, human,
Yeah.
the human prophet.
Yeah, the imperialist.
Right. So there's been this person, Patrick Lawler, who's like he's been kicked around Twitter recently for having one of the most annoying affectations ever recorded on TikTok, while simultaneously talking about how good the war in Afghanistan was, because he was involved in it.
Do you have the clip set up?
I have the clip. Let's take a little look. Let's see if this. Hold on. Let's see if you can hear this.
Gosh, what a fun weekend I'm having. Hey, if you're one of those people attacking veterans on the internet for lamenting the fall of Afghanistan, you're a bad person. I don't much care for your half-formed thoughts about American imperialism as you attack the very people that end-stage capitalism forced into the military. Why don't you go look up how they recruit, huh? Really don't love how you all keep ignoring all the horrific things the Taliban has done throughout history in your scramble to criticize the US or the 41 other countries that are part of the International Security Assistance Force, which was in Afghanistan. Frankly, I don't think you care at all about the people of Afghanistan. You just want to yell at people on the internet and take a huge problem and make it small so that you can attack me instead of, doing the internal work of realizing that international conflict is messy and complicated and often has good and bad parts. But what would I know? I was only a part of it. And no, I don't feel bad for going. I was a medic. And nothing you can say will change my opinion of the things that I did and experienced there. I helped the people of Afghanistan. Have you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Really? You helped the people of Afghanistan?
I guess so.
I guess that's what they think.
Well, I guess maybe he was sewing back on fingers after that, those Marines went around collecting ears and fingers as trophies from people in Afghanistan. Maybe he was like cauterizing the wounds.
There's this very theater kid. It's the whole theater kid thing.
Sorry,
where you talk like this.
I got the pronouns wrong on.
You got
Patrick.
the pronouns wrong. Yeah, they are, they, them. We won't. No one's gonna be upset. They know you are good-hearted. But
well,
that
person was being a douchebag, and
they're being a douchebag. But yeah, the point is, I think you accidentally using the wrong pronouns is less bad than doing an imperialism. Oopsie. Looks like you did an imperialism there, champ. Looks like you did. Looks like you did a bringing medicine to the savages, champ.
Well, I'm a simple brain, and I'm trying to do two things at once, which is do improv comedy and not get canceled, which is very hard.
It's very hard because we're also I don't know who our audience is, but if you are upset by this, we're sorry. Okay, we're making fun of an asshole. All right.
What I meant to say was Patrick Lawler. They would cauterize the wounds of Afghani women and children after Marines went around severing those fingers and collecting them as trophies of war.
Yeah.
They did that.
They would go, shh, shh, while, like, dabbing white phosphorus wounds.
Right.
He would just cradle them in their
So I'm very sorry. I meant to say that they did that.
I also just used he pronouns, so we're all doomed. But I think that points to a larger thing, which you saw recently with the CIA ads, where I am a bisexual woman with a mental health disorder, and I am the CIA. You know, I am a POC.
Right. The CIA did that because then the moment you fuck up and use the wrong pronoun while criticizing them for like dumping white phosphorus on people, they can scream at you for being whatever just sin you committed.
And I think that's like a feature of liberalism is, of course, bad faith identity politics. That's Kamala Harris is the avatar of bad faith identity politics. Of like she's a black Indian woman, and she represents the black community while also putting them away for minor weed crimes. So it's like that has been the concurrent feature of supporting the liberal status quo, which is utilizing identity politics, which ordinarily should be used to consolidate goodwill and faith in a community. I don't think identity politics are good or bad. It depends on how you use them, right? You know, because and in this case, they're being used. It seems like they're being used in the same way that Charlotte Clymer will use her identity as a trans person in order to carry water for genocide. It's not wholesome. It's not a wholesome way to go about being yourself, essentially. And it's not. And if you use your identity for anything, if you say like as a Jew for me, or like as a gay person, is you try and be on the side of those who faced similar oppression.
So I'm examining Patrick Lawler's Twitter feed, and someone got 89 likes for writing "Just log off, dude," and Patrick Lawler wrote "No," and then Patrick Lawler didn't post for the past 4 days.
I'm sure there's tons of people calling them like a baby murderer and shit like that. That's probably
people
fairly
started
intense.
accusing them of killing Pat Tillman, which is
that's funny. That's very funny. Yeah, they should call him Pat Killman. Ooh. Killing Pat Tillman. Pat Tillman's an interesting figure. But yeah, so that's an interesting figure that came about this week, is the Patrick Lawler person. Also, like part of the also in disingenuous bad faith identity politics is the women of Afghanistan. The Taliban are going to destroy the women of Afghanistan, which is said by a drone pilot who killed more women than fucking the Green River Killer or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure the Taliban's going to do terrible stuff, but at least they won't be using like like tomahawk missiles. They'll be doing like
they'll be doing it. They'll be doing artisanal.
Yeah, it's going to be slower at a slower pace.
Yeah,
the women will actually have a chance of running away.
But similarly, I don't think you can say whether Afghanistan is better off under the Taliban or the American army. It's like equally bad situations. But one situation involves spending a lot of money to not make anything better, which is why it's untenable.
Well, Biden permanently increased food stamps by 25%, and that made me feel good. So, go Biden.
I to some degree, there is some incrementalist, positive liberal qualities to his administration that I stand by. But I don't know. It's. I don't know if you can say that it's worse than Trump, or Trump would have been a better outcome from that election. I don't know.
I think
a year into Biden,
you can definitely say Biden is better for the country than Trump. Another 4 years of Trump.
Yeah, well, because the argument that the people who said, we should have just, let Trump win as a punishment to the liberals, their contention is that in the same way that Obama quashed all of the popular leftist sentiment after the Iraq War, Biden is going to do the same thing by having these incrementalist policies. But, withdrawing from Afghanistan, especially amidst being as unpopular as it is among the commentator class who's most relevant to you, i.e. the MSNBC people or the CNN people, that actually took some guts.
I think that it's going to be... The left is always so concerned about incrementalism, but that's how you get things snowballing. They're envisioning it as like Sisyphus pushing up a rock and the rock symbolizes everything we want to accomplish. We want to do it all in one major bill where we solve poverty, we get rid of the billionaires, we stop climate change, we end racism, and when we end all kinds of the gender and sexuality stuff as well. It doesn't work that way. We're going downhill. You got to start snowballing things.
There have been bills like that in American history. I'm thinking of stuff like civil rights in the 60s.
The Great Society project was a series of multiple bills.
Yeah, that's a series of multiple, but it happened in rapid succession. But the thing is, incrementalism. That type of bill usually, or that type of series of progressive legislation usually only happens in reaction to a crisis or a reaction to some sort of event. And that's when sort of the big milieu-changing bills are passed in those fits and starts. Whereas, I guess we've been conditioned to accept this like imperialism and this end stage capitalism as normalcy, which is why we don't have crises anymore. We don't have a crisis that we can react to create like a big all at once bill. We just have all of these little crises that are constantly happening, and that's what's normal.
And that's kind of tough for the content creators out there, because I know they like to rate the crises, like on scales of 1 to 10. Yeah. Like, this is a low-tier crisis. It's like 1 or 2. Like, I think that
You heard of crisis actors? Here's some crisis factors, okay? Crisis factor 1, not much of a crisis.
You just made before we, to end out the show... Before we started this show, you just posted a new comic about one such of these content creators.
Yeah.
Who's always rating things.
He's always rating things. Mr. Anthony Fantano. Another person who seems to have been built up and then brought down by his own petard.
Yeah. His own
yellow flannel.
Is a petard, is that something that's like... I'm visualizing a stick covered in poo. That's what a petard is.
I'm thinking of some sort of like little outcropping from some fanciful like 17th century French pants or something like that.
Let's Google petard. Well, so what's going on with Anthony Fantano?
Oh, nothing. He just made a post that was like, yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been breaking bitches and hitting saddles and drinking nugs, and I'm gonna be here forever, bitches. Life. Fantano out. Did a very not mad post because it seems like people have been clowning on him for his content I mean, that's also the unique quality of YouTube, where you develop content that's supposed to be intimate and sort of shitty, so that it feels as if it's just a normal person or a guy making this, and you can have that sort of relationship you would have with them as a friend. So once you start getting more money and you start doing more production value and you start corporatizing your brand more, because that's sort of what you have to do with the momentum of capitalism behind you, and when you start doing it for a living, people who once loved that sense of authenticity now see you for what you really are, as somebody
this is
just
his
pushing
I
a
drink
brand.
your milkshake tweet.
Read the tweet out. It's very funny.
It's been 10 plus years of grind to be at this point. Nobody has my catalog, my output, etc., etc. And I own 100% of everything I've done. Nobody can take it away. Nobody can hate me away. So get used to me taking up this fucking lane until I decide I'm finished. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Milkshake. Bastard from a basket.
Yeah.
No one has my catalog. Giving this a light 9.
It should have been Sean Connery in There Will Be Blood.
And There Will Be Blood. Yeah, my Sean Connery and my Daniel Plainview voice are the same voice.
It should have been him. It would have been amazing. It would have made just as much sense.
Look, I'm an oil man. I'm also an ancient Spaniard, and I'm the Highlander as well.
He shows up for the for the audition in the Highlander outfit.
Yeah, I will slay Paul Dano with the quickening.
Stupid
man.
Paul
Well,
Dano.
yeah,
He's really good at being a stupid weasel in that movie.
If you, yeah, that's the best part of that movie is seeing him get beaten up and then murdered.
Yeah, with a bowling pin. I'll smoke a blunt object.
But yeah, I guess Fantano kind of reminds me. Do you know this guy that's gotten big on Twitter with like the, he's got like a French name and he does the looping music.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's got big. He also has big glasses and
like,
that sort of moon face.
His name's like Mark Riboulet.
Mark Rebier. Yeah.
Rebier?
He's very funny. He's pretty funny. I get why people. And it's very much in the Reggie Watts,
Right.
looping
I like
improv comedy style.
The post left hates him.
Why? Why did the post left hate Mark Rebier? Why does Amy Therese have against?
It's not. Well, it's not. Amy Therese doesn't. I call it Therese. I don't say Therese.
Amy Therese.
Is it? I don't
Amy
know.
Therese.
Maybe
I
it's
don't know.
Therese. It's like the lower rung guys. Like there's lower rung guys who.
Yeah, like Bronze Age Mantis.
No,
and,
he's banned now.
he's a high rung. Oh,
he's he's high rung. Yeah, he actually has more followers than Amy Therese.
Blacked calm
Yes,
pilled.
that guy. People who do the podcast called the Fed Post, which is
Fed
pretty
Post.
cringe. They hate the musical stylings of Italian Reggie Watts, leftist Italian Reggie Watts,
leftist French Reggie Watts.
gay leftist French Italian
Gay
Chinese
leftist
Reggie
French
Watts.
Italian Chinese Reggie Watts. Yeah. Why do they hate it? Because it's cringe.
No, well,
Is it
because
cringe
it's like
to them?
it's like he's pretty earnestly engaging in leftist tropes, and saying
okay.
"fuck Jeff Bezos" is his latest thing.
Oh, that's fine. But yeah, you should fuck Jeff Bezos. I don't think that message is cringe
Hey,
yet.
I would fuck him. I would fuck him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he'd probably he's into consuming as much testosterone as possible. So I'm sure he's just sucking dicks.
Yeah.
Because you get a lot of tea when you swallow semen. People don't know that.
If you had sex with Jeff Bezos and you managed to save or steal his semen, that would be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
There
Put
are
it
a
in a
lot
horse.
of women who would want to have his child. And you could, let me just say, I know where you can sell that kind of a thing.
You know where you can sell black market billionaire semen?
Yeah, I do know where.
People would really want Jeff Bezos. Just because your dad's a billionaire does not guarantee you'll have that billionaire acumen. All it does guarantee is that your kid is going to look like Jeff Bezos, which
Yeah, and
I
also
don't know.
guarantees 8 years of child support. So
Well,
18 years, yeah.
I mean, I would think you would be stealing the Jason Momoa sperm or the Dev Patel sperm.
Why? You think I want to have a hot actor son? No, I want the chance of having like a genius son who will make me a billionaire.
I want a hot actor son who will make me a millionaire. And like ContraPoint says, millionaires are fine. Billionaires are the bad ones.
Oh, that's so coincidentally helpful for me.
Yeah, there you go. No, ContraPoints, we love you. You're good. You're good still. I haven't turned on you.
Well, okay, that's good. You know, a couple more comics though, and maybe it'll be on the shit list.
I'll be on the shit list.
Yeah.
Nah, she's funny. Just because you don't agree with someone in politics or you think they're misrepresenting socialism, that's one argument. Just to extend this further, that really bugs me is like, oh, this popular personality is misrepresenting socialism. Okay, but would you rather them be listening to these people misrepresenting socialism or fucking Charlie Kirk? You know, it's like there are degrees of badness, and I'd rather be people rather be youngsters, you know, getting the wrong impression, but getting sort of like an earnest idea of how they want to embrace leftist politics from idiots like Vosh or ContraPoints than I would. She's not an idiot. He's an idiot, though.
Hey, whoa! Pronoun check, my dude.
What? No, Vosh is an idiot.
But you said he.
No, I said she. No, you will not do this. Fuck off.
Vouch. You said he.
Vouch is he.
Is he? I mean, no.
No, Vouch is not they, them. Who is... I can get in trouble for misgendering Peter Coffin. But they're an any and all, so you can call him he.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
That's a catch-all there.
Yeah. Well, Peter Coffin. I'm not going to talk about Peter Coffin. I could do a whole episode.
Our most serious enemy.
Eventually, no, not at all. But they're definitely the internet figure who I have the most cringy obsession with because they just keep failing constantly, but still, and they've been around forever. Like, they've been around since, like, Web 2.0.
Yeah, what we have here is an Ed the Sock type guy who's going to never go away.
Yeah. Just reinventing themselves constantly for new media brands. And the post-left turn they've taken, extremely funny. Extremely funny direction for them to take. And let's hope they evolve in the future to take an even more wacky stance once they've inevitably alienated their post-left audience.
And they live in Michigan, and due to the quirks of Michigan's voter records law, everyone who lives in Michigan and registers to vote has their address publicly logged on the internet unless you take pains to remove it, and he hasn't. So have fun with that.
Don't do that. Don't dox Peter Coffin.
I didn't.
Michigan doxed Peter Coffin.
The state of Michigan has doxed everyone, and I had to go get my name and address removed from the internet, and I have to keep doing that because it keeps popping up because Michigan has this horrible law where you can upload everyone's voter records online and it has your full address. So
yeah.
Anyone that you don't like that lives in Michigan, you can probably find out their address.
Yeah, except the survivalists. Maybe that's the reason why all the survivalists are in Michigan, because of this law, which is like, I'm getting off the fucking grid. Fucking Michigan.
No, it's all FBI agents here.
Yeah, you're right. It's just FBI. It's funny if you go into one of these like kidnapping groups, and that actually happened, right? In the Black Panthers, like when the two cops were invading the Black Panthers, and they like were trying to get each other to be each other's informants, and then realized they were both cops.
Yep.
And nearly
happened with this plot to kidnap the governor. Which, so riddled with FBI informants. But anyway, we've hit our mark. My message to the audience is don't fall prey to the ever-changing litmus tests of today's topsy-turvy political climate. I hope you have a great week. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I love you all. And I think I hope we get to the point where people hate us because we're successful. We're too successful. We're dripping with success.
I want to be hated for being fat.
Yeah, me too. Let's get real fat.
Let's get real fat.
Yeah, fat cast.